How does a little boy in a quiet Italian hill town become the face of evil? And how did a modern nation let it happen?
In cui Roma aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto.
Before the dictator, there was a child. A child in Predappio. He is born in 1883 in Dovia di Predappio, Emilia-Romagna. His father, Alessandro, is a talkative blacksmith and ardent socialist. His mother, Rosa, a devout schoolteacher who believes in books, order, and effort. The boy is quick, intense, restless. In class, he debates teachers. In the yard, he leads games that end like skirmishes. Discipline follows, transfers, expulsions, signs of a temper learning to win by force. At home, two models compete, the hammer's heat and the primer's calm. The child absorbs both, the thrill of command and the grammar of persuasion. If this story matters to you, power it forward. We're pushing to 100,000. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a like. Tell us where you're watching from. Comment your country below. Enjoy the rest of the video. Back to the mission in 3, 2, 1. Student, teacher, rebel. He earns a teacher's diploma and briefly instructs children in tiny schools. The room and its rules feel too small. He pores over fiery newspapers, speaks at rallies, treats socialism like a creed. Strikes, pamphlets, scuffles. In 1902, facing conscription and seeking work, he slips to Switzerland. Day laborer by day, agitator by night, learning exiles' trades, aliases, leaflets, jail cells. Amnesty brings him back. He serves in the army, returns to politics, and rises through the socialist press. By 1912, he edits Avanti, the movement's flagship. The pen is a weapon, the headline a drumbeat. The audience grows, and so does the ego gripping the microphone. War changes the script. Europe tilts toward catastrophe. Socialists vow to block war. He breaks ranks. In 1914, he argues that violence can cleanse and modernize a nation. The party expels him. He launches Il Popolo d'Italia, financed by interventionists and industrialists. The internationalist pen turns nationalist. The pivot becomes a brand. He is wounded in training, returns to journalism, and watches a generation bleed. Out of rage and disillusion, he fashions a new creed, fascism, a politics of action, uniform, myth, and the promise to end paralysis by will. Blackshirts and the politics of the street. 1919. In Milan, he founds the Fasci di Combattimento, veterans, students, the disillusioned, men hungry for uniforms and answers. The Blackshirts, squadristi, smash meetings, burn union halls, terrorize rural organizers. Mayors and prefects look away. Big landowners and industrialists see a tool against the left. Violence becomes advertising. Fear becomes message. At the ballot box, fascists falter. In the streets, they surge. The movement learns the camera's grammar, marches, slogans, salutes, offering a simple bargain: order for freedom. The March on Rome, 1922. Strikes and cabinet crises paralyze the state. He threatens a march. The threat becomes fact. Columns of blackshirts move through rain and mud toward the capital. The army could disperse them. Leaders hesitate. King Victor Emmanuel III refuses martial law and invites Mussolini to form a government. The marchers enter Rome for the cameras. The real victory was indecision. At 40, he becomes Italy's youngest prime minister, legally appointed, theatrically triumphant. From premier to dictator, he begins with a coalition, then rewrites the rules. The Acerbo Law hands a huge seat bonus to the largest list. Police powers expand. Critics are beaten. Newspapers are bought or muzzled. In 1924, opposition leader Giacomo Matteotti is kidnapped and murdered after denouncing electoral fraud. Shock grips the nation. Opposition deputies stage the Aventine secession, walking out in protest. He waits, calculates, and in early 1925 declares dictatorship. Parties dissolve or are banned. The secret police, OVRA, monitors, arrests, exiles. Special tribunals condemn opponents. The premier becomes Il Duce, the leader. Democracy ends not with a war, but with signatures, uniforms, and a monarch's nod. The theater state. A cult of personality takes center stage. Balcony speeches, choreographed youth, headlines crowning him architect, athlete, farmer, aviator. The economy is reorganized into corporations of labor and capital under state guidance. Efficiency on paper, control in practice. The radio carries his voice, schoolbooks teach his slogans, dissenters vanish to islands and border towns. In 1929, the Lateran Pacts reconcile state and church, settling the Roman question. Crowds cheer. Abroad, he is praised as the man who made trains run on time. At home, the price rises. Freedom traded for spectacle. Silence bought with fear. Empire, racism, and fatal allies. He wants empire. In 1935, Italy invades Ethiopia with planes, armor, and banned chemical weapons. The League of Nations condemns, sanctions are weak. Conquest proceeds. In 1936, he proclaims an empire. Prestige soars, and illusions harden. He intervenes in Spain to back another general and draws closer to Nazi Germany. In 1938, he enacts racial laws targeting Jews and others. Servility to Hitler masked as ideology. In 1939, he signs the Pact of Steel, binding Italy to Germany's wars. He calls it destiny. It is a trap. A war he couldn't win. June 1940. With France collapsing, he joins the Second World War, late, unprepared, overconfident. Campaigns misfire. In Greece, Italian forces are pushed back. German rescue is required. In North Africa, early gains dissolve into retreat. Factories can't match promises. Supply lines fray. Propaganda outruns reality. As casualties mount, the myth of infallibility shrinks. Allied bombers reach Italian cities. Bread grows scarce. Balcony speeches sound tinny under sirens. Collapse and the puppet throne. July 1943. Allied troops land in Sicily. The fascist Grand Council turns on its creator. The king has him arrested. Italians cheer an armistice. German troops occupy half the peninsula. In a daring raid, German commandos free Mussolini from a mountaintop hotel and install him as head of the Italian Social Republic, a Nazi puppet at Salò. Now stripped of grandeur, he signs decrees he doesn't write. Civil war tears Italy. Resistance versus collaboration. Jews are rounded up and deported. The Duce who promised rebirth presides over ruin. The end on a roadside. April 1945. With Germany collapsing, he flees north in a convoy disguised, blending with retreating columns. Partisans stop the cars near Lake Como. The man of parades faces a small firing squad by a stone wall. The next day, his body is taken to Milan's Piazzale Loreto and hung upside down. Grim public proof that the spell is broken. History will return him to his birthplace, to a crypt where curious visitors still whisper. But the spectacle is not the story. The story is how a modern society traded liberty for theater, consent for intimidation, and paid in lives, dignity, and war. The face of evil. So how does a little boy become the face of evil? Not by destiny, by choices, his and those who enabled him. By elites who thought they could use violence. By institutions that froze at the moment of decision. By crowds that mistook choreography for strength and slogans for solutions. Fascism isn't genius, it's a system. Crisis, paramilitaries, leader worship, captured media, emergency laws that never end. The early warning signs are always the same. Dehumanizing language, political thugs, attacks on the press, a promise of order if you surrender your rights. Stop those, early and everywhere, and the next man who craves a balcony may never find a crowd beneath it.